Okay, now we're going to start with a new way to deal with your sweet potatoes this year. Instead of making them with lots of marshmallows and baked in the oven, we're going to make sweet potato puree with ginger and buttermilk. And I think you're going to really like it. And it's going to be a nice substitute because you're missing your mashed potatoes since we're making the roasted ones. I'm going to start out, I've gotten 3 beautiful sweet potatoes here. And I baked them in the oven, and right now they're cooling. So you want to just bake them in their jackets and till they're nice and soft. You know, it takes probably 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on your oven, you know, at a high temperature. I'm just like letting them cool right now. I'm going to puree those with my other ingredients, but I have to start first with my ginger. This is what ginger looks like, ginger root when it's fresh. And I'm going to peel it. Some people don't even bother peeling it because the peel isn't very unsavory. And this one actually looks really clean. But as long as I can, I'm going to peel it anyway. And oh my gosh, does this ever smell good? As soon as you get that peel off of it, it starts smelling real gingery, which is also a great Thanksgiving spice, isn't it? And we know that ginger is one of those additions to any food that adds some wonderful anti-inflammatory properties. So here we go. Let's see, I'm going to need my knife. Let me get over here and get it. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut about a couple-inch piece of ginger like this. And then I have my microplane grater. And I'm going to grate it right into my food processor. I'm going to want to have, you know, something like a tablespoon and a half of ground ginger. And I've estimated that about this much is the right amount. I know that because it says that in my book. So I estimated it some time ago, but hopefully I was paying attention to what I was doing at the time. And the only thing that's bad about these microplane graters is you don't want to get your fingers too close to them, that's all. And the nice thing about ginger is if you don't have to use the other part of it, you can freeze it. Just put it in your freezer and you can just grate it from frozen next time. And it works out fine. It's not watery or it doesn't change the taste of it or anything like that. It works out really, really well. This is great for the biceps. I can feel it now. And then, you know, a lot of it will get caught up on the back of the grater. So you want to be able to have a knife or something to get it out of there. Or like a rubber spatula would be good too. Anything, but don't use your fingers because these are pretty sharp tools. And if you're anything like me, if anything can happen to you in the kitchen, it will. I was telling my student class that we were talking about knife handling, and I told them how my daughter had a knife slip from her hand, and she wasn't wearing any shoes, and it went right down straight into her foot and cut like a blood vessel that started spurting out of her foot, and she had to really get some help with that one. Yeah, it was not pleasant. So that's why I tell my students now, when you're cooking, always wear closed-toed shoes. So look, I've got this down to a little nub, and I'm not going to risk my fingers, so I'm just going to not use that little nub part. But I'll get off all the rest of this ginger. Look at that, delicious. Really carefully. I really don't want to, I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to be very careful and just push this off with my finger. I know I just told you not to do this, but I don't want to waste it. So we're going to be very, very careful. Okay. that should do it. So we have our ginger all set to go in there. And now these are cool enough, so all I'm going to do is just pop them right out of their jackets and right in here too. And you know, sometimes with these you might get a very fibrous end, and if that's the case, you can just cut that part off, because you don't want to have anything. This whole dish is going to end up being really smooth. So if you have any hard spots, you want to remove them before you put them in. I'm just going to try to take this little bit of skin here off that got stuck to this potato. And you know how sweet potatoes are really so much better for you than white potatoes. Even though I love white potatoes, they say eating a white potato is the equivalent of drinking a glass of sugar water, because there's so much sugar in it, even though a sweet potato seems sweeter. I know it's counterintuitive, but that's what the folks who deal with diabetes tell us. Ooh, now I thought these potatoes were so cool. This one's feeling a little toasty here. Okay, I'm just cutting these into big chunks and putting them in my food processor. And one more. Something really satisfying about being able to peel a potato like this instead of struggling over its skin. It's when you bake them, the skin really loosens up. And I like to bake them instead of boiling them because it makes it so much easier to peel them, for one thing. And the other thing is they don't get watery at all, so you get the real concentrated flavor of the sweet potato. Sometimes when you boil potatoes, you know, they do get a little bit watery tasting. Okay, let's see. Let's cut this up and make sure I don't have any hard ends anywhere. Okay. Need my towel again because I have my hands all dirty. Now let's see, we're going to also add to this mixture wait a second. No, I'm sorry, 3/4 cup of low-fat or non-fat buttermilk. That book, Greek Revival, Cooking from the Garden, Cooking for Life, is, or rather Greek Revival from the Garden, is tiny print. So we want 3/4 of a cup, here we go, of buttermilk. Buttermilk is another sort of oxymoron because it's usually either fat-free or low-fat, but it's called butter, so it sounds like it's all fat, which it isn't. But it's really nice. It has a little bit of a sour taste, and then we're going to add in something sweet to balance that, which is our real maple syrup. And I have one here from, let's see, this one is from Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts. Well, that's where you know that maple syrup really runs from those maple trees in the cold weather up there. And we're going to add 2 tablespoons in here. Perfect. And I'm going to put a little bit of sea salt. Maybe about 1/4 teaspoon sea salt and some freshly ground black pepper. And guess what? This is all going right into the food processor to be pureed and then onto the stove to be warmed, and then it's ready to go. So this is a great one that you can make ahead of time and just keep it in your fridge and then just warm it up on the day of. So this is a good advanced recipe you can make in advance. Okie dokie. Puree away. Pulse it a few times now. See how this looks. It sure smells good. Ooh, it looks great. I'm just gonna run and grab a spatula to get this out of here. I'll be right back. Okay, so now we've got this beautiful puree, and I'm just gonna take this right from the food processor into my pan because it needs to be warmed up. Of course, if you're making it ahead of time, you just take it now and put it into your food storage container, and then right into your fridge, and then right before you're going to use it, all you have to do is warm it up. And if I was going to warm it up, I could do it on the stove top in a pan like I'm going to do now, or if you have a steam oven, that's a great way to warm things up too. Okay, just, you know, I want to get it all out of here. Great. Okay, that looks good. And it's a little slightly thick. It will, when you sorry all, I just can't do too many things at once here. So what I was going to say is, if it's a little thick, start warming it up, and if it doesn't thin out a little bit to your liking, you can always add a tad more buttermilk. I'm going to do that right now because I feel like this is slightly thick. So, I mean, maybe that was about a tablespoon, that's all, just to get it to the right consistency. Sometimes the, you know, potatoes are a little denser or larger or whatever than what you use in the first recipe. But that's it. And of course, I always tell my students, I'm going to tell you too, before you put anything on your table, taste it. Because you might decide that you didn't put enough salt in it or pepper, or, you know, it just needs something. And that's a good opportunity to try before you set it out for everybody else to taste. Okay, well, there we go, and it looks wonderful. The only problem with this dish at all is that it's orange, but you know, there's nothing much we can do about that because sweet potatoes come in orange. So let's take this over to our plate to make it look pretty for Thanksgiving. Now, I have heard of people making purple sweet potatoes, but I'm almost feeling that that's just as bad. And certainly if you had the two of them on the table, you're giving the total wrong message, right? Okay. There we have it. Our sweet potato with ginger and buttermilk. It smells great. I'm going to taste it. It's really good, y'all. Hope you like it.